Hey everyone, welcome to another one of our videos. Today we're going to be doing a oxygen sensor replacement, upstream oxygen sensor replacement of both O2 sensors on a 2002 Lexus GS300. The same process should apply for the 98 to 05 generation. I believe all of them are the same. I believe all of them use the same O2 sensors. Please double check and make sure that they do prior to buying ones for your car. But in my case for this O2, the correct DINSO part numbers, which are the original equipment manufacturer for these sensors and who I would recommend purchasing them from, or at least that's the brand of sensor I recommend purchasing. Part numbers for them are 234-4048, which is cylinders 1, 2, 3 sensor 1, and 234-4630, which is 4 cylinders 4, 5, 6 sensor 1. So the way that the manifolds on this car are set up, they split cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6 into two different kind of banks, so to speak, as they would read in a code reader or something to that effect. And these are the two sensors for the two banks. I'm assuming bank 1 is 1, 2, 3, bank 2 is 4, 5, 6. I don't know that for certain, so I'm not going to say that on video for sure. But I know that this is 1, 2, 3. I know this is 4, 5, 6. And we'll compare lengths of the wires with the old sensors whenever we take them out. Should be a pretty straightforward process. We'll go ahead and head over to the car and get that started. All right, so step 1 in the O2 sensor replacement, I always recommend disconnecting the battery when you're messing with sensors. Super easy to do on this car. It's right here on the passenger side. Disconnect your negative battery terminal first, and really for what we're doing only, we're just disconnecting power overall to the vehicle. So by removing the negative battery terminal, we're disconnecting power to all of the power systems in the car. I'm going to go ahead and tuck that terminal down here, nice and safely away. It won't pop back up the way I've got it tucked and hit the post there, powering anything up. So we are good to go as far as that end of things goes. Now, if we move the camera here, we'll be able to see we have a little bit in the way before we can get to our oxygen sensors, which are down here. You can see one of them right there. That's cylinder 1, 2, and 3. We got a little bit in the way. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove this engine cover for 10mm nuts, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the intake tube here, which is just a, I believe 10mm. Let's double check. Yep, 10mm right there, or JIS/Phillips, and I believe the same on the other end. And that's also a hose clamp there. That's going to just come right out super easily. Once we have that out of the way, we're going to have really easy access to the rest of everything down here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way, like I said, and then we'll start working on the actual sensors themselves. Alrighty, so we have the two oxygen sensors you can see right here. One of them's pretty easy to get to, one of them not quite so much. This top one here we're going to start with. It should be pretty darn simple. We'll make sure that we get the process down there, and it'll move down to the lower one right down there. So, to start off with, we need to get these unfastened. You may need some penetrating oil, depending on what your climate is, how much corrosion you might have, etc., etc. I'm expecting these, because I live in Arizona, no corrosion, etc., to be fairly easy to come out. I believe I've taken them out in the past as well, so we'll see how that goes. I'm expecting them to be pretty easy. So what you need is a 22mm, or alternatively you can probably get away with a 7/8" wrench, or possibly a crescent one too, or an oxygen sensor socket. Kind of take your pick of which tool you want to use. There's multiple options out there that'll work, and you need to break the sensor loose and unthread it. Now I'm going to break it loose as it sits right here. As soon as I've gotten it broken loose, I'm going to go ahead and take the wiring loose from the little clip here, and then disconnect, I should say, the connector, which for the forward O2 is right here, right above the alternator. Alrighty, so we're back here at the bench, and just a couple things before we move on with the installation of the first sensor. Got the first sensor unpackaged here. I actually took out the second one just to take a look at some things. First thing I noticed, I always compare old to new. New one is a little bit longer. If we look at the end, it's inch and a half longer, something like that. Nothing too crazy, but just something to take a note of. It's interesting that it's a little longer. But what's even more interesting is the fact that these two, whenever I open the second one, just to double check links and whatnot, This one came with a packet of anti-seize and this one didn't. Now this one came with a cap on it and this one didn't. Pulling the cap off shows that there's anti-seize right here already applied to the sensor. So something to keep in mind, you should apply anti-seize to oxygen sensors before installing them. In the case of the secondary sensor, I will have to. In the case of the primary, or should I say 1, 2, 3 cylinder and 4, 5, 6 cylinder. In the case of this one, I won't have to apply any because it came factory pre-applied, which I don't know that I've ever seen before. The other one, this is what I'm used to, just putting some copper anti-seize on there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one threaded in and tightened down. It's got a crush washer, that should crush down beautifully. And then we'll go ahead and get the second one out. Alrighty, so whenever we started the video here, I misspoke. I said that the primary O2 sensor for 1, 2, 3 is here. I said the primary for 4, 5, 6 is right there. Obviously, I wasn't clearly looking at the engine. Some of you probably already have commented that. 1, 2, 3 is indeed here. You can see it's replaced and just hanging out for right now. 4, 5, 6 isn't down there. That's secondary for 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6 is primary O2 sensor right back here. Brain fart on my part. Apologize for any confusion, but that's the one that we need to go ahead and get removed to replace the other primary O2 sensor. So you see, we have one threaded in, other one we just need to loosen out and then thread in a new one, and we're going to be on our way to finishing up this job. The connector for it is right back here at the end of the harness on the passenger side of the engine, and all you need to do to release the connector is push the little tab right here on top that you can see and pull the O2 sensor's end out towards the firewall. So pretty straightforward. Again, apologies for any confusion. We'll get this dialed in now. All right, so secondary O2 sensor's out. I don't have any real good footage of that because I'm working basically back behind the manifold and I can't fit the camera and both hands and tools and everything else back there. Sensor's out. It came out pretty easy. Definitely in the case of that one, needed the penetrating oil just because I don't have as much leverage on that in that area. So I had to end up doing that, and I used an oxygen sensor socket with a wrench around it to break it loose. So 1-inch wrench on my particular oxygen sensor socket worked perfectly. So got the new sensor prepped and ready to go. You might be able to see, hopefully you can on camera, I have some copper anti-seize right back here, applied there, and 180 degrees on the sensor. That's how I always like to apply it. I don't smear a bunch around. I've put pretty small amount on here. I'm gonna go ahead and get this threaded in by hand and then tightened up with the socket and probably with the wrench. And we're gonna go ahead and get it all plugged back in and hopefully fire up the car and see that it's running much more beautifully than it was. In this particular case, there were a couple of, I can't remember if they were either rich or lean codes, but ones that after some diagnostics a couple weeks ago, waiting for the sensors to do this installation video, after diagnostics a couple weeks ago, looked to be oxygen sensors with some improper voltage readings coming out of the sensors. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one installed, tightened up, and we'll wrap up the video. All right, so we have the two new sensors installed. You can see cylinders 1, 2, and 3 sensor here, 4, 5, and 6 back there in the back. 4, 5, 6, very easy routing. You can see the wires right there run up back behind the heater hose here and up and around and are plugged back into this connector here. Went ahead and did that off camera. Now bank 1, cylinders 1, 2, and 3 runs through a few different hold downs. First one is right here. So it actually, this hold down here holds bank 1 or cylinders 1, 2, and 3, secondary O2 sensor as well. And then we'll get the primary in here tucked into place and get it started for the cinch down. I'll finish that up off camera. And then from there, this one comes down and around and underneath that line right there. And this one actually has a hold down, a zip tie hold down right here. So there's a little loop here. I believe this was a factory zip tie, but what I had was another zip tie run through there because I've previously serviced these sensors in the past. So we have that hold down there, and then we have another one of the clips here, which we're going to run through, and then the sensor will plug in right here, aligning the clip tang with the top of the clip connector right there. So That will just plug in like that and click into place. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and get this finished routed off camera, but that's it. That's all there is to it, to replacing the primary oxygen sensors, both of them, on a 2002, which is applicable to 98 to 05, Lexus GS300. Super straightforward process. It's a 20 or 30 minute deal as long as you got the right tools. You need a socket for the back. You can do with a wrench or a socket or whatever you want for the front. And all you got to take off beyond that is the intake tube and engine cover. So, super simple. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. But with that, I want to thank you all for watching. Again, any questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comment section. Hope to see you in the next video. Take care.